Now, I don't know if this is 100% Gucci Gucci Goo, but she was basically saying that her ancestor wanted cocaine on the altar. So hey guys, my name is Imani, aka Enigmatic Flow. Welcome to my channel if you are new here, and welcome back if you've been here before. Today, I want to talk all about altars. I am a moderator in a Facebook group called Melanated Mystics, and one of the first things newbies come and say is, okay, where should I start? What should I do? How do I actually do this thing called a spiritual journey? Now, I have my own thoughts about the whole notion of a spiritual journey, but besides the point, one of the very first things that people do is set up their altar. So today I'm going to be basically talking about why you would want or need an altar, how to prepare or get stuff and set up your altar, and then altar alternatives, because some people actually don't have the space or the environment that calls for a typical altar. I'm also going to be briefly talking about different types of altars, and I want to preface this by saying this is all based on my research, my opinion, my perspective, and if it doesn't vibe with you or if it doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. Leave it where it is. Okay, so first up, why do I want an altar, and what do I want my altar to look like? First, it's important to basically touch on the fact that your altar is specific to you, your environment, and the reasons for your altar. A lot of people will ask, how do I set up an altar? They have no framework for where to start. And then a lot of people will jump in the comments or jump in somebody's live or something like that and be like, you need this, you need this, you need this, you need this. And to that I say no. First, you need to find out what type of altar you want to set up, because an altar, a sacred space, can be anything. I've seen deity altars, ancestral altars, prosperity altars, sex altars. I've seen higher self altars, inner self, younger self, all of these different type of altars. So the very first step is determining what type of altar you are going to set up. Now today I'm going to be personally talking about an ancestral altar. It's one of the more common altars, but again, first decide what type of altar you're going to set up. It's also important for me to note that a lot of people will have different types of altars in their home. I personally have an ancestral altar and I have a working altar, and these two are kept separate. I know some people that have a working altar, they have a ancestral altar, and they have a deity altar, and all of these are generally kept separate. But again, it really depends on your purpose, what you're using for, what your ancestors say, or the guides that you are revering or anything like that. It really depends on you, but you want to be cognizant every step of the way. So first, again, figure out your why. Secondly, cleanse your space. Now, in this video, I'm going to be primarily talking about ancestral altars, but this works across the board. You need to make sure your space is cleansed physically as well as spiritually. So clean up your area. It doesn't have to be too much. Then do some type of cleansing with a water or herbs by burning, or your voice, to prepare that space. It's preparing your mind. It's preparing your heart. That is important. So step 2, cleanse your space physically and spiritually. Step 3 is gathering your materials. Now on mine, I have a lot of different materials for a lot of different reasons, but I'm just going to basically go down a bullet list of what people generally would have on their altar. So first, you would have on an ancestral altars pictures of your ancestors. And I know that a lot of people come in the different groups that I'm in and they're like, okay, I'm adopted, or I didn't know this ancestor, or I don't have pictures of these ancestors. I've also seen people say things like, I get along with these ancestors but not these, like the family had a falling out and stuff like that. That's totally fine. That's totally normal. These are human type things. To that, I would say, Get pictures of your ancestors if you can that you were close to and that have your best interest at heart. And if you do not know your ancestors, you can get a blank picture frame. You can write my ancestors known and unknown, because you might not know them, but they know you. You can also do that. For adopted parents that maybe have passed on, you can put them on your altar. I specifically have somebody on my altar that was not kin to me by blood, but they raised me just the same and they have passed on. That's totally fine. I don't have their picture on there, but I do have something. So for example, I have a giraffe on my altar, and this is really important to this person because it's their favorite color and it was their favorite animal. Okay, so pictures. You would have pictures, a glass of water, food, their favorite drink, vices. Like, an interesting, funny story is, in one of these groups, I was talking to this girl, and she basically was saying that one of her ancestors told her, now, I don't know if this is 100% Gucci Gucci Goo, but she was basically saying that her ancestor wanted cocaine on the altar, and she basically came and said, should I do this? Is this weird? Blase, blase. Now, I'm not sure if she did it or not. I think she did. And hey, shit, I don't know, whatever. But this is also something that you could put on your altar, like tobacco, weed. I've seen weed a lot. I've seen all types of vices. So it really just depends. But going back to step number 1, be thoughtful of your why, and also to be cognizant of who you are putting on your altar, because these are the people that help you and guide you through this life. It's also important to note that you should be cognizant of who got along with who on your ancestral altar. If this grandma didn't get along with this grandma, I would think about how you are going to basically lay that all out. So ancestors, vices, personables, a pipe. If your grandfather or somebody had a pipe, you could put a personable on there. I've seen people put hairbrushes on there, all types of stuff on this ancestral altar. Another thing that is really common, especially for those of the diaspora, is putting a Bible. So I have a Bible on my altar, and this makes total sense for me. But if it didn't make sense for your ancestors or you, then don't put it. You do not have to put a Bible or any other sacred text. Another thing, flowers. So just gathering all of these different materials, basically, that connect you to your ancestors, connect you to yourself, connect you to earth, all such as that. Now, I have mine facing the east for a important reason, but some people don't. You want to put it where it makes sense for the space that you have, and the people that are going to be coming in and out, and all such as that. Like, I wouldn't put it in my kitchen or something like that, or I wouldn't put it in my living room, but some people can. You do what you can with what you have. Now, briefly, I'll talk about how I upkeep my altar, and I'm not saying that I'm perfect in this by any means, but I try to cleanse it once a week at the bare minimum. For the water that I have on my altar, I try to change it daily or every week. Daily, every 3 days, or every week. That's pretty much the standard. For food, 3 to 7 days, depending on what you have. Let's see. Now, when I'm talking about feeding the ancestors, if it's something that they liked, like coffee, like yesterday, I had a glass of coffee, decaf, which was my grandmother's favorite. She would drink it every morning. So I would make my glass of coffee, and I would make her glass of coffee, and I would put it on the altar, and it'll stay there for 3 days. Chocolate, if I'm getting chocolate and I knew that it was my grandmother's favorite chocolate, then I'm going to bring a piece of chocolate home as well. Now, here comes my favorite part, alternative altars. I have a list of, I think, about 5, and they all have different subsets in them. So first off are box altars. This can range from something as small as an Altoids box and go all the way to a Yoni Steam box. Excuse me, because a Yoni Steam, you can also have an altar for this. So I've seen an Altoid box, I've seen cigar box, I know some that have shoe box, makeup box, any type of box can house what you have, whether it's crystals, pictures, anything like that. So number 1 would be a box altar. This is really good for those that don't have a lot of space, or they're traveling, or there's people in the house that either like to fuck shit up or they don't really vibe with ancestral veneration. It's for levels of sacredness, and yeah, it's really good if you have to choose an alternative altar. Another one would be a glass of water and your blank. So when I say a glass of water and your blank, I mean a glass of water and your Bible, a glass of water and a white candle, a glass of water and a picture, a glass of water and blank. So a glass of water and your crystal, like it can be anything, and this can serve as another inconspicuous and easy way to connect to your ancestors or to whatever your altar is dedicated to. It makes like a mini sacred space, so to speak. Next up would be an hanging altar. And I think these are really cool, especially if you're into herbs and plants and you're like a plant mama or something like that. You can actually have an altar that is a hanging altar. So you hang your plant, you have your you can have photos on there, you can have water mixed into the mix, like a water spray bottle of sacred water, something like that. You could have crystals dangling. Now, the more stuff that you have on this altar, the more inconspicuous it is, and it might draw attention or intrigue just because, but that's totally fine. You also could not have any of this, especially if it is a specific altar to the earth or the elements or something like that. Next is yourself. You are an altar. So a lot of people ask, do you have to have an altar? And the resounding answer is no. You are an altar. Treat your body as an altar. In the Bible, it says your body is a temple for other reasons, but that same notion fits the vibe. So if you don't have the space, you do not feel called to make an altar. You are still a physical being that has a spirit. You are connected in both of these ways. So do you need an altar? No. It is just something nice to have and to do if you feel called. Lastly is my favorite. It is actually a phone altar. You can have an altar in your phone. So in the Photos app, you will open it up and you will get pictures of your ancestors. Since we're specifically speaking about ancestor altars, you'd have a folder specifically for them. You would also have another folder that would contain some type of sacred text if that's what you're into. So for me, I have the Bible on my phone. You can have meditation apps, you can have yoga apps, your notes app or InNote, you can have voice memos, you can have a tarot or oracle app, you can have moon app, anything, literally anything you can have on this phone, and it doubles as a travel altar. It doubles as your sacred space altar because nobody's really going through people's phones, or they shouldn't, and if they are, they're not going to go to the app that's like called meditation station or some shit like that, you know. So your phone is a really good way, and I probably will be doing a video in the future of what my traveling altar looks like, just to give you guys an idea, maybe about like my favorite mindfulness apps or spiritual apps, something like that. I don't know. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this is my favorite type, but you can pick from any of these types if you have to choose an alternative altar, or you can make a bigger one. You can pretty much do anything, and that's the whole point of this whole video, is to lay some things to rest. It really depends on you. I've shared some ideas and some good rules to live by that I follow, but at the end of the day, spirituality is spirit, is self, and your connection, point blank. If it makes sense for you, if you're doing it out of love, then who cares what else is going on around you, you know? So yeah, if you like this video, be sure to like this video, comment down below to say hello, subscribe if you feel the vibe. Stay safe, stay sane, stay spiritual. Peace.